The girl looked up, and to her surprise, a lion cub dropped from the sky. She had no idea where it came from, but seeing its pitiful little face, Alma couldn't bear to leave it alone in the dangerous forest. So she took the cub home with her. Just as Alma was about to close the door, a white wolf, carrying a wolf pup in its mouth, suddenly barged in and quietly settled into a corner of the room. Alma was puzzled, but she mustered the courage to take a closer look. It turned out she had seen this white wolf before. Not long ago, during a walk in the forest, the wolf had startled her by appearing out of nowhere. But the white wolf didn't seem aggressive. It simply looked at her with eyes that seemed to plead for help. That's when Alma noticed that the wolf was tangled in a rope net, unable to move freely. Perhaps it was the scent on Alma's clothes, familiar to the wolf, that made it feel calm instead of threatened. Alma suddenly remembered a video her grandfather had left her. The animal friend in the footage was this very same white wolf. Realizing her jacket still carried her grandfather's scent, she took it off to help comfort the wolf. She then used a small knife to cut the net. But the moment the wolf was freed, it turned and walked away, without a glance back. Even so, Alma felt happy, because helping the white wolf regain its freedom gave her a sense of joy. Unexpectedly, the white wolf soon returned, this time bringing its pup into Alma's room and refusing to leave. Alma was a bit annoyed. Her peaceful home had suddenly turned into a zoo. She had just wanted to practice piano quietly and prepare for her exam, but the arrival of these animals left her feeling overwhelmed. She wanted to call the police, but there was no signal on her phone. Just then, 2 patrol officers from the Wildlife Protection Agency came by to ask about the lion cub. It turned out the cub's mother had been shot by hunters, and the baby lion had been sold to a circus for a high price. But during transport, the plane had crashed. By sheer luck, the lion cub landed in a tree. After a brief struggle, it fell into a bird's nest. But the lion cub was chased away by a swooping eagle, and by a twist of fate, it ended up falling into Alma's arms. Alma initially wanted to tell the truth and return the cub, but when she learned it was destined for a circus, she immediately changed her mind and decided to hide it. Alma had lost her parents when she was young, and just days ago her beloved grandfather had passed away too. No one understood the pain of losing family better than she did.
I love you, my blue fairy. I'll always be here.
I love you too.
When she got home, she saw the white wolf nursing its pup. Right then, the lion cub casually walked over. Alma was nervous, afraid the white wolf might reject the cub. To her surprise, the lion cub crawled over to the mother wolf and began nursing alongside the wolf pup. The white wolf didn't stop it. Perhaps in its eyes, the lion cub was just another baby in need. Watching this heartwarming moment, Alma felt deeply moved and made the decision to adopt them both. Over the next few days, the 2 little ones became best friends. They played and tumbled around the house without a care. The white wolf returned every day to feed them on time. Seeing such a beautiful sight, Alma took out her phone and recorded every moment. As time passed, the 2 cubs became even more attached to her. They followed her everywhere. When Alma practiced piano, they would go outside to play quietly. But the moment she stopped, they would turn into her little shadows, sticking close to her wherever she went. Sometimes they would sleep together in a little cabin deep in the woods or splash around in the river. In the evenings, they'd sit by the shore and watch the sunset, and when night fell, they would curl up beside Alma and drift into peaceful sleep. A few days later, Alma's long-awaited piano exam finally arrived. She told the little ones to stay home and behave, warned them not to wreck the place, and promised she'd be back in 2 days. She also opened a window so the white wolf could come and go. As expected, Alma's performance went smoothly. She stood out among all the participants and successfully earned a spot with the Los Angeles Symphony Orchestra. Her lifelong dream had finally come true, but Alma couldn't feel happy, because now it meant she could no longer return to take care of the 2 little ones. The little wolf still had its mother to care for it, so Alma began looking for a safe place for the lion cub. But trouble came sooner than expected. One day, while the white wolf was out hunting, it was spotted by staff from a wolf conservation center. They carefully raised their tranquilizer guns. Just like that, the white wolf was taken away. When Alma returned home, the scene that greeted her left her stunned. The 2 little ones had turned the house upside down in a desperate search for food. Before Alma could even get upset, she noticed the white wolf was gone. Panicked, she ran outside to search, but no matter where she looked, the wolf was nowhere to be found. With no other choice, she returned home to feed the hungry cubs. The white wolf's sudden disappearance left Alma feeling helpless. She knew she couldn't juggle her job and caring for the animals at the same time. So Alma made a tough decision, to send them to the Wildlife Protection Agency, believing they'd be happier there. Maybe sensing what was about to happen, the two cubs quietly climbed into Alma's bed that night, clinging to her, unwilling to let go. Alma's heart melted. She made a silent vow that she would never abandon them. So Alma quit her job with the symphony orchestra and began devoting herself full-time to raising them. With the white wolf gone, the two cubs saw Alma as their mother. She gave them new names. The little wolf became Mozart, and the lion cub, Dreamer. Her unfulfilled dream of music would now live on through them, and Mozart truly seemed to have the talent of a musician. He actually started playing the piano like a maestro. As Alma's gentle piano music filled the air, winter arrived quickly, blanketing the entire forest in snow. The two cubs had grown into large, powerful animals, chasing and playing through the snow. Alma prepared delicious dinners for them every night. Their appetites were huge. Alma and her grandfather Joe had to bring in large quantities of meat to keep them fed. Even though he tried to be ready, Joe was still a bit frightened by their size. He asked Alma to check in with him every day over the radio to make sure she was safe. As Mozart and Dreamer continued to grow, their territory also expanded. What Alma didn't realize was that danger was slowly creeping in with the change of seasons. As the snow melted, the forest came back to life. One day, a mother and daughter arrived on the island to pick flowers. When Mozart and Dreamer saw them, they ran toward them at full speed. Alma panicked. Afraid something might go wrong, she sprinted to stop them, but she accidentally tripped over a rock and hit her head hard on the ground, then fell unconscious. Hearing the noise, Mozart rushed back first. Seeing Alma lying on the ground, he grew frantic. Like a child who knew he had done something wrong, he nudged her over and over, trying desperately to wake her up. Just then, Dreamer arrived as well. The two of them circled around Alma, calling out, hoping someone, anyone, would come help. But this was an isolated island. There was no one. Night fell, and still they refused to leave her side, guarding her motionlessly through the cold darkness. The next morning, Joe's voice came through the walkie-talkie. They had agreed to check in daily, but that day, he had called several times with no response. Alarmed, he jumped on his boat and headed for the island. When he arrived at Alma's house and couldn't find her, he sailed around the island in search. Mozart saw him and let out a loud howl. Joe followed the sound and finally saw Alma lying on the ground. But with wolves and a lion nearby, he didn't dare approach. Left with no choice, he called the police. Alma was rushed to the hospital. The doctors told her that in the freezing early spring night, if not for Mozart and Dreamer keeping her warm, she likely wouldn't have survived. However, because of Joe's emergency call, Mozart was taken away by the conservation team. As a rare species, he was well protected. And there, he was finally reunited with his mother. Dreamer wasn't so lucky. He was returned to the circus by the police. When he saw the ringmaster Alan, Dreamer instantly became agitated, but there was no changing his fate. Alan told his son Rafa that to truly tame the lion, they had to make it feel fear. Then he whipped Dreamer violently with a leather lash.
Monster.
Meanwhile, Alma couldn't stop thinking about Mozart and Dreamer. She snuck out of the hospital and went to the police station to ask about them. But the officers not only ignored her plea, they told her that keeping wild animals was against the law. Left with no other choice, Alma decided to search for them herself. She soon got in touch with Eli, the director of the Wolf Conservation Center. Eli told Alma that Mozart was very happy now. He had been reunited with his mother, and his natural instincts had been set free. Relieved to hear this, Alma felt half her burden lift, but she still couldn't stop worrying about Dreamer. Alma knew he had most likely been sent back to the circus, and she vowed to search every circus in the world if that's what it took to find him. That very day, the circus caravan happened to pass near the Wolf Center. Mozart instantly recognized Dreamer's roar and cried out, calling for his friend. But the caravan showed no mercy and drove away without stopping. At that moment, a bold decision surged in Mozart's heart. He was going to find Dreamer and rescue him. That very night, Mozart dug a hole beneath the wire fence and escaped from the conservation center. After running a long distance, Mozart finally arrived at the circus grounds. He immediately started digging again and slipped into the circus with ease. But when he reached Dreamer's cage, he realized he had no way to open it. Still, Mozart didn't give up. He found a stick and tried to use it as a lever to pry the cage open. Seeing this, Dreamer quickly got up to help. But the fragile stick was no match for the solid metal bars. The noise drew Alan's attention. Alan was puzzled by Dreamer's agitation, so he opened the cage to check what was going on. In that instant, Mozart leapt out and knocked Alan to the ground. Then he and Dreamer made their escape. Reunited at last, the two friends joyfully wrestled and played together. It was time to go home. Following familiar scents through the forest, the wolf and the lion searched for their way back. When they got hungry, they snuck into a supermarket and helped themselves to a grand buffet. The supermarket security guard rushed over after hearing the noise, but when he saw the scene, he quickly ducked into the security room and called the police. But Mozart and Dreamer were already long gone. Meanwhile, Alma heard from Eli that Mozart had rescued Dreamer. Eli asked Alma to help in the search. Mozart was still wearing a tracking collar, so they were able to pinpoint his location quickly. Now, the whole city's police force was searching for Mozart and Dreamer, and Alan arrived in the forest with a rifle. He soon spotted Dreamer drinking by the river. Alan raised his rifle and took aim. Mozart reacted instantly. Without hesitation, he charged at Alan, but was hit by a tranquilizer dart. A dose meant for Dreamer could be deadly to Mozart. To avoid further trouble, Alan ordered his son Rafa to throw away the tracking collar, but Rafa secretly hid it under his clothes instead. After they left, Dreamer ran back to Mozart's side, calling out to him in panic. Eli and Alma used the tracker signal to locate Alan and Rafa. But Alan denied everything, claiming he had just found it by the roadside. After they left, Rafa pretended to go to the restroom, then quickly caught up with Eli and Alma in secret. He led them to the place where the white wolf had once been captured, but Mozart was already gone. Alma was growing anxious. They had to find them before the police did. Thanks to Rafa's suggestion, Alma got an idea. She would drive through the forest while playing the music she used to practice. Sure enough, Dreamer heard the familiar melody and ran out. Seeing Alma, he became overjoyed and led her to the small wooden cabin in the woods. Mozart, overjoyed at the reunion, ran up and covered Alma with kisses, as if pouring out all the longing he had held inside. Alma rushed out and told everyone she had found Mozart, but just then, Alan arrived with a rifle, demanding that Dreamer be returned to him. To everyone's surprise, Rafa stepped in front of him. At that moment, the police showed up. Alma quickly ran back into the cabin and led Mozart and Dreamer into a hidden tunnel. By the time the police arrived, they had already escaped. They emerged from a hollow tree. Across the lake stood Alma's private island. As long as they made it across, they'd be safe, because police had no jurisdiction over the island. Alma was growing anxious. She kept urging Dreamer and Mozart to get into the water quickly because the police were closing in fast. But even so, Dreamer still walked resolutely toward the police because he wanted to buy time for Alma and Mozart to escape.
Come.
With no other choice, Alma and Mozart had to leave first. As the sound of gunfire rang out, Alma realized that Dreamer might have been shot. Holding back her grief, she returned to the island with Mozart. But Mozart, unaware of what had happened, stood on the shore, waiting for Dreamer without moving. Just then, a sudden rustling came from the bushes nearby. They looked closely and saw a familiar figure step out from the shadows. It was Dreamer. He had escaped the police. Mozart ran toward Dreamer, overwhelmed with joy. Everyone who witnessed this moment was filled with happiness. They could finally live forever on this island filled with love. True and sincere emotion can transcend species. Two animals that were supposed to be enemies ended up building the deepest brotherhood, and all of it came from love. All living things have souls. From this moment on, life became a song, and emotions flowed like a river. The setting sun melted into an orange sea. The evening breeze surrendered to the warmth of love. As long as love lives in your heart, no mountain is too high, no sea too vast. Every place becomes a landscape. It's true for humans, and it's just as true for animals. This is a true story. In the end, the wolf and the lion lived together forever, growing up free and full of joy.